Hi guys, it's Sarah here from Savasana Yoga, and today I'm sharing with you a relatively short yoga sequence for practicing your splits. So for this practice, you can be a total beginner. You don't have to be able to do the splits. We are just working on opening the parts of our body that will allow us to eventually get there. So that being said, you might like to have some yoga props nearby just to help you in your practice today. A couple of blocks are a good option if you feel like you're really struggling to get deep into your splits. If you don't have yoga blocks, you can use a book or a sturdy pillow or something that's similar in size and shape. You could also grab a yoga strap just to help you in some of those forward folding positions if you feel like you're having to bend your legs a lot around your spine to reach the feet and stretch forward. A yoga strap is a helpful option, and I'll also show you how to modify some things so that you can practice the poses still without using the props so that everybody can do this practice. Other than that, today we are going to be using socks, mainly just as sliders though. So if you're practicing on hard floor like I am, grab a pair of socks. If today you're practicing on carpet instead, you can use a paper plate. Or something like that so that you can slide along the carpet as well. Socks might not work in that sense. So whenever you've got everything ready to go, just bring it to the side of your mat, get comfortable, come to a seated position, and we'll get started. You can start in easy pose with your hands on your knees, palms down or facing up, whatever feels more comfortable for you today. Close your eyes or keep them open if you prefer. Either way, start to bring your awareness inside your body. And focus on your breath. This is a good place to set an intention for your practice. Keep it simple and kind so that you can go back to it as often as you need. Or maybe you dedicate your practice to someone or something. You don't necessarily need an intention. I just find it really helps to keep us focused and grounded throughout our practice. We'll take a few more deep breaths here in easy pose or cross-legged. And just a quick mention that if you're feeling a lot of tension in the hips or the knees, you might like to support your legs with blocks under the knees, one or both. Or bring your feet further away from your body. If you find a lot of tension in the hips, it might help even more to sit on a block. Take one more deep breath in and out through the nose. If you're sitting on a block, you can slowly remove it now. If you're in cross-legged or easy pose, bring your feet together into Hanumanasana, so the soles of the feet touching. And gently bring your heels in close to your body. Take a few deep breaths and just see what's going on in the hips, the knees, the entire low body. At this point, if you need, you can modify or adjust the pose so that it works for you today, so that it's supportive and it's your practice. You can modify by bringing your feet further away from your body, just not quite as intense for the knees here. If it feels like a good stretch in that it's relatively deep, but you can breathe through it and there's no pain, then start to turn the soles of the arches up toward the ceiling as you draw your knees down toward the mat actively. And just a note here that we're never going to push through pain. So splits practice can feel really intense, really deep. As long as it's discomfort or a little bit of muscular tension, it's totally okay to breathe through that and move through that. And in fact, in that practice, you will be able to increase your flexibility over time. But it's also really important that you don't force yourself through pain. If you have any pinching or other weird sensations, or it just becomes way too intense and you find that you're not breathing very well or at all, you've probably pushed yourself too far, and you can just back up Focus more on the alignment than depth. You'll get there one day. One more deep breath, rooting down through the base of the spine, lengthening the entire back body, reaching up through the crown of the head. Exhale, let go of some tension. Relax your shoulders, your hips, knees, and feet. Inhale to lengthen your spine up as much as you can as you root down. And exhale to draw your body forward. Try not to round your spine as you come forward. You can bring your elbows or forearms onto your calves toward the knees. Gently push and lengthen. Root down at the base of the spine or the sits bones. Draw your knees toward the mat. Lead with the chest or the heart. Lengthen the back of the neck. Draw your crown forward and make sure again that you're breathing deeply in and out through your nose. You might just be coming this far forward today. A little bit more each time. Wherever you are, make sure that you're staying with your breath, that you're using that to guide you. One more deep inhale to extend. Exhale to come into your depth without forcing your way through, and hold it there. Inhale to rise up, opposite way you entered the pose, lengthening your spine. Slowly bring your hands to your knees and guide yourself back into easy pose with the opposite leg in front, or cross-legged with the opposite ankle on top, if you can remember where you started in the beginning. Hands to your knees or lap, shoulders relaxed, spine long. A few more deep breaths here. Just let that one go. Now coming into a seated forward fold. Bring your knees together and stretch your heels away from your body. Come about halfway up your mat, so your feet are toward the top of the mat now. This is where you could incorporate your yoga strap if you feel like you need it today. You can use the strap or your belt, whatever it is that you're using, a tie maybe, around the soles of the feet, kind of just at the arches under the balls of the feet. If you're not using the yoga strap today, another modification, if you find that trying to reach your toes really causes you to round your spine to get there, bend your legs more. Lift up your chest. See if you can reach the toes with that modification. You can bring your heels back towards you as much as you need to. Lift the chest. Lengthen the spine. And eventually, you can start to slide or walk the heels further away from the body as you keep the chest up and spine long. If both spine and legs are straight, really squeeze the thighs, push the heels away from you, and flex your feet in toward your face. Draw the navel to spine. Take a deep breath again to lengthen your entire spine up toward the ceiling. And on your exhale, start to pull your body forward, but more importantly, stretch from the low spine. So really using spinal strength here to deepen the pose. If you are not wearing socks, you can grab onto your big toes with your index middle fingers, or you can grab onto the outsides of your feet. Nice and strong grip there. Flexing the feet actively, legs are strong. Really squeeze the quads. Draw the belly in to support and open up the back body a little bit more. Inhale for more length, and exhale your body forward again. Reach the crown now toward the toes. Continue breathing, reaching your entire spine forward, starting from the low back and keeping the legs engaged. You can come out of the pose at any time you need to, but try to stay here for 2 more deep breaths if you can. And remember again, it's always form before depth. Lengthen the spine and draw the shoulder blades back away from your ears. Belly to spine. On your inhale, come up nice and slow. On your exhale, relax. Bring your right leg out to the side and your left leg in, the heel nice and high up on the right inner thigh. A little bit of pressure with the left sole of the foot on the inside of the right thigh muscle. Then flex your right foot. Check that the toes are in line with the knee and the hip. Start to square your body over your right thigh. Again, you can modify this one by bringing a strap into play underneath the foot, grabbing on either side of the strap, just so that you can lengthen both the leg and the spine. As an alternative, bend your right leg, bring your heel closer, and for the grip today, we're interlacing the fingers and bringing them underneath the foot. So if you can grab your foot with your chest up and spine long, relatively flat back, go for it. It might help to lengthen your arms and your spine up to the ceiling first with a deep breath, And then exhale, extend your body forward, reach as far forward as you can. Try to grip underneath the foot. Keeping everything still nice and square, relax your left knee, the bent leg knee toward the floor. Draw the navel into the spine and lift up the chest. Squeeze the right thigh, kick the right heel away from you. Inhale, extend, and exhale, reach your body more forward, the crown toward the right big toe, elbows out to the side, and shoulders back away from the ears. Lengthen your belly over your right thigh, chest forward toward the knee, and the top of your head toward your foot. For this particular variation, we're not bringing the forehead to the knee. Instead, we're trying to bring it toward the toe so that we can find as much length in the spine as we can while really lengthening the right hamstring and the underside of the leg. Continue kicking the heel out, really flex your foot, squeeze the right thigh muscle. One more deep breath, stretch toward the toes. Find your depth on the exhale and hold it there. Inhaling, chest up, come all the way back up to seated, and we'll switch sides on the exhale breath. Slowly bringing your left leg out and right leg in. Again, bring your right foot nice and high up on the left inner thigh. Squeeze the left quad muscle, root down the hips, try to keep them square. Take a deep breath, lengthen up, and on the exhale, twist your body a little bit over your left thigh muscle. Inhale and lengthen your body forward. Again, you can reach up if that helps. Exhale, fold toward the left foot. If you're rounding the spine in order to grip, then use your strap to modify, or maybe bend your leg a little bit so that you can keep the spine long, chest open. When you find your setup, make sure that you're nice and sturdy. Really root through the sits bones, the base of the spine. Squeeze that left thigh muscle, relax the right knee. Pull the belly button into spine and inhale, lift the chest. Find as much length as you can. Exhale, fold your body forward, lengthening from the low spine. Draw the belly in on your exhale breath. Lengthen the back of the neck and reach the crown toward your left big toe. Remember to lengthen your spine forward for this one as much as you can rather than rounding to bring forehead to knee. Keep pulling the belly button up and in to support the back body. Squeeze that left thigh muscle, kick the heel out, one more deep breath. Find your maximum and hold it there. Breathe through it. Come up on an inhale, head up, chest up, lengthen, and exhale to release. Good. For the next one, bring your legs back behind you, hands on the mat. Stretch your legs back and lower down slowly. Come up onto your forearms, just like Sphinx pose. Elbows in line with the shoulders, chest up, legs nice and strong. And I'm going to start with the right leg out today. Bring your knee out to the side nice and slow. If you find that if you're practicing on a hard floor like I am and it gets a little bit tender in the inside of your right knee after a few deep breaths, you might want to incorporate a blanket or a scarf under your knees for this particular pose, or you can just flip your body around and use the mat the other way so that you've got more width to work with your body. You know what I mean. So we can stay here. Just check that your right foot is in line with the knee. You can point the toes if that's comfortable or flex the foot to protect the knee a little bit more. Keep the top of the left thigh on the mat, just like in a pigeon pose. So the thigh is on the floor, knee is down, top of the foot is down, toes pointed, everything in a straight line as much as possible. You can open this one up a little bit more by bringing your right hand up, lifting the chest, bringing the right hand out, I should say, pressing down, lifting the chest, and drawing your right shoulder back a little bit to the ceiling. Or recline all the way. We'll stay here for 3 more deep breaths. So you can decide at this point if you'd like to intensify the asana or if you'd like to stay where you are or maybe take it a little bit slower, more gentle approach. Come back onto your hands, lift up your chest, draw your right knee in, and take a little high cobra, press the mat away from you. Deep breath, extend the spine, open the chest. Exhale, lower down. Root down the top of the right thigh, point the toes, root the top of the foot. Again, bring your forearms onto the mat for a little bit more stability. Lengthen through the spine as much as you can. And then draw your left leg out. Same thing, other side. So we're bringing the knee about in alignment with the hip and the foot in alignment with the knee, just to protect the knee joint. Again, you can point the toes on the left side, or you can flex the foot if that feels more comfortable for you. Find length in the spine, root down on the right side of the thigh, the hip. One more deep breath here. And then option to change the pose up if you like, bringing your left hand up. You can press down, lift up the chest, draw your left shoulder back. Make sure that you're not collapsing through the right side. Lengthen the ear away from the shoulder. An option to recline all the way, bringing your chest to the mat. Try to keep the hips and the shoulders square. And take one more long, deep inhale. Slow exhale through the nose. And let that one go. When you feel ready, come back to your hands. Bring your left leg back. Root down, inhale one more time, lift the chest, high cobra so the legs are on the mat, arms are straight. And exhale, shoulders back away from the ears. Open up the chest. Lower down on your exhale, lengthen your body forward. Lift yourself up and back to down dog. So tucking the toes, press the mat away from you. Walk your feet a little bit forward if you need. Glance back at your toes. Make sure your feet about hip width distance apart, or maybe a little bit wider if you're feeling kind of tight through the hips, hamstrings, or low body. You can bring the heels off the mat if that helps. Lifting the hips high, lengthen the spine and the arms, and draw your shoulders up away from your ears. Pull the navel into spine. On your next exhale, draw your heels closer to the mat, lengthen the backs of the legs. Make any adjustments that you need for a nice strong downward facing dog. We're going to stay here for 2 more deep breaths. Remember, you can always come out early if you need to, or modify the pose so that you can stay. Just as long as you're not compromising the form or putting yourself at risk. Modifications that serve you in your practice are always welcome. I'm going to move into 3-legged dog. So I like to bring my foot into center line, the balancing foot, in this case, the left. You can also bring yours into center line a little bit or keep it where it is. Rooting down both hands on your left foot, draw the navel in and inhale right leg up and back for 3-legged dog. Come to your full extension and then check in with your alignment. Are your shoulders square? Are your hips square? Really root down through the left big toe, the inside of your foot. And stretch up through the midline of the body, lengthening up and back through the inside of the right leg. You can point your toes or flare them, stretch them out, even flexing the foot if that feels more helpful to you. Stay strong through the shoulders. One more deep breath here. Remember, you can always bend the left leg. Just keep the spine long. Navel in. Exhale, right toes to the mat. Walk it out if you need to. Take a deep breath. Check the alignment of your hands. And remember, you can always go into child's pose for a break if you need to. Child's pose is just here. Arms forward or back by your side. Forehead on the mat or to the side. Whatever feels most comfortable to you. I'm getting ready for the other side of 3-legged dog. So again, option to bring your right foot now into the center line a little bit if you find that helpful. One more deep breath, rooting down, stretch up. Pull the belly button into spine. Root the right foot in both hands. On your inhale breath, draw your left leg back and up. Really lengthen that line through the left leg. Explore your range of motion without forcing it. Remember, we have a few deep breaths here to explore the depth, so take your time. Check in with the alignment, shoulders, hips square. Option to bend that right leg if you need to, lifting the heel off the mat, but really pushing down through the toes and the ball of the foot. Shoulders back away from the ear. Continue to stretch up, rooting down through the inside of the right foot, the big toe all the way to the heel if it's on the floor, just the ball of the foot. One more breath. And exhale, bring your left leg back down to the mat. Walk it out, or take a little break in child's pose if you need it. We're going to walk to the top of the mat, coming onto our toes on an inhale breath. Lift the hips high, lengthen the spine, the arms. On the exhale, shift your gaze or drishti forward between your thumbs and hold it there. Push the mat away more. Deep breath, lift the hips higher, and then start to tiptoe 1 foot at a time toward the hands. It's really normal for the shoulders to collapse here as we move, kind of crumbling in. Keep drawing them up and back. Stay strong through the shoulder girdle. Root through the hands, lift up the hips, slow it down. When you're at the top of the mat or your toes are near the heels of your hands, open up your feet hip-width distance. Bring your hands to the floor under shoulders or to a yoga block. You can use the block at any setting or height. Lengthen the legs as much as you can. You can bend the knees if you need to. Just make sure that you're rooting the feet really firmly, pressing them down into the floor as actively as you can. Weight is more forward in the toes for this one, but we're not letting the heels come off the mat. Keeping them rooted, take a deep breath and lift your hips up and back a little bit even. Still weight on the fronts of the feet. So in this way, we're lengthening the backs of the legs without doing so by forcing the knees back. You can keep the knees bent, remember, as long as you need to. Just make sure that your spine is long. So if you're rounding forward a lot, make your adjustments. Now coming into Padahastasana, hands to feet pose. Lift up 1 foot at a time, palms facing up, slide your hands all the way under. So your fingertips are as close to the heels as you can, toes really high up the wrists. Again, shift your body weight forward, just like an Ardha half fold. Inhale the chest more forward, lengthen the spine and squeeze the quads. On the exhale, lengthen your body forward from the low spine. Lead with the chin and chest. Shoulders away from the ears, elbows out to the side as much as needed. Navel into spine, lift the hips up. Squeeze the thighs, lengthen down. I'm going to stay for 2 more deep breaths here. Find your own depth and try to hold it there so that you can work on increasing your flexibility a little bit every time you practice. Finding your edge, playing with it, testing it, but not pushing yourself all the way over. 1 more deep breath, lengthen the entire spine. And on the next inhale, lift your head and your chest and come up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, walk your hands out. Take a deep breath. Bring your feet into center line. Shift your weight into your left foot. You can straighten the legs or keep them bent if you find that more supportive to you. All right, so we're gonna go into a standing split. Oh yes, we are, starting with the right foot down. So you can wiggle that one into the center line if that helps you. Hi, gorgeous. Draw the navel to spine and step your left foot back. Oh, hi, Bo. Not to be forgotten, huh? Oh, goodness. Bring your left hand out to the side, your left hand in line with your shoulder, and then just slightly wider if you find that helpful. I always go onto my fingertips because I find that that helps with my balance and ability to root down through that hand. But you are welcome to bring a block there, experiment with it, see what works for you. Wrap your right hand around your right heel or ankle so the fingers are on the inside and the thumb is on the outside, gripping tight. Really press down your right foot. Gaze forward beyond your toes, maybe about 12 inches or so, just up your mat. Draw your shoulder blades down your spine before you even come into the expression of the pose. Root the foot more firmly, and then on the inhale, lift up your left leg, and exhale, root down the right foot more firmly. Really pull the ankle or heel, and firm your right forearm into your calf muscle. Try to keep the hips square and slowly explore your depth by reaching up the inside of the left leg. Lengthen the big toe up to the ceiling. Draw the navel to spine and stretch your body forward over the right thigh. All right, so a few deep breaths here. Make sure you can breathe. You're welcome to take breaks as needed. Slowly lower the left foot back to the mat. And we'll switch sides. I like to set up with my legs slightly bent for standing split so that I can really push down and then straighten it as I lengthen the stretching foot up to the ceiling at the same time. So again, root down your left foot really firmly. Bring your right hand out to the side in line with the shoulder and a little bit further out to the right if that helps you with balance. Spread the fingers if you find that helps and root down the fingertips. Wrap your left hand around your left ankle or heel, thumb outside and fingers inside, really gripping tight. And at this point, before you come up, you can really wrap your arm around the calf muscle, get nice and grounded here. Root down, gaze forward, draw the belly to spine, and on your inhale, stretch your right leg back and up. Explore the balance here, focusing forward on that one point. Lengthen your right foot up toward the ceiling even more. Lengthen your body down your left leg, the crown toward the big toe. As you become more comfortable with the depth and the balance here, you can shift your gaze to your foot instead of forward so that the cervical spine, the neck, is in line with the rest of the spine. And try to bring the top of the head toward the top of the left foot. Let's take one more deep breath, finding the full depth. And exhale. Bend your left leg. Walk your hands forward and step your right foot back down onto the mat. Take a break if you need it, maybe some water or tea. The next thing that we're going to do is a crescent prep position. And if you're flexible, you feel good through the hips, you might be able to bring your hands all the way down to the mat. If you feel like it's a bit far, you can bring the mat a little bit closer to you with the help of your blocks. So if you are using them, bring them about shoulder width apart at the setting that you like. And bending through both knees, lengthen the spine forward. Keep the right foot rooted down and step your left foot back all the way. Oh, look, Bowie's brought us a sock. Good, thanks, buddy. Again, this is one where I like to come onto my fingertips and tent my hands, really lengthening the arms and the spine over the right thigh. Just be mindful to keep your hips as square as you can here. So drawing the right hip back gently will help. Your right knee should be directly over your ankle or heel and the toes pointing straight forward. Squeeze the left thigh muscle, push through the back toes. Push your foot down into the floor. Take one more deep breath. And this time on the exhale, lift your hips up and back, straighten your front leg. You can stay on the toes of the back foot. Lengthen your left leg as well, pushing down the toes and the ball of the foot into the mat, reaching the heel back. Draw your right hip back, squaring your hips and pelvis. Navel to spine, take a deep inhale and lengthen your body forward. Lift your chest, gaze beyond your toes to the top of your mat. And if you want to come a little deeper into the pose, you can adjust your feet slightly, just wiggling the back foot forward, turning the back foot out about 45 degrees, just slightly less perhaps, aligning your heels. Really root the feet down, square the hips, drawing the right foot back. An option to fold down over the right leg. Take one more deep breath here in your variation of pyramid. And then bend the front knee nice and slow, come back into that crescent prep position. Root down the front foot, shift your weight forward, gaze forward, take a deep breath, and step your left foot up to meet the right. Walk it out, just let that one go. So again, hands on the blocks under your shoulders or hands right down on your mat. Draw the belly and lengthen the spine. Bend the knees, so sit the hips back. Then root the left foot, take a deep breath, and reach the right toes all the way back, coming into your crescent prep. Squaring the hips as best you can, draw the left hip back, root firmly through both feet. Squeeze the back thigh muscle, pull the shoulders down the spine or back away from the ears. Lengthen the spine. Take one more deep breath here on this side. Hips low, hands on the blocks if you need them. On the next exhale breath, lift your hips up and back. Draw the navel to spine. Squeeze both thigh muscles, the quads. Press your feet down. Option to stay here, to fold your body forward over the front leg. Or to maybe step your back foot a little bit forward slowly if that feels okay, you've got the control. And come into a slightly deeper variation of pyramid. Root down firmly, lift the chest on an inhale, lengthen all the way forward. On your exhale, bend the front knee, come into crescent one more time. Once again, shift the weight into your left foot, the front one. Take a deep breath, gaze forward, and step your right foot forward. Lift the chest, Ardha Uttanasana, exhale, fold all the way down. Uttanasana. From here, lift up the chest again to half fold position, lengthen the spine. Bring your hands down under the shoulders, bend your knees as much as needed, shoulders back. And step your feet back one at a time, back to the mat. Lift the hips high to come into downward facing dog. Feet about hip width distance apart. Hands shoulder width distance, fingers spread wide. Push the mat away from you, actively and equally through both hands as much as you can. Draw the shoulders away from the ears. Spread the shoulder blades apart, broaden the chest. Lift the hips higher, navel to spine, lengthen the entire back body. Now take one more deep breath and root the heels into the mat, lengthening the backs of the legs. Squeeze the quads, hold it here. Now on your next inhale, come into three-legged dog on the right side. Using this as a transition to come into lizard pose on the exhale. Bend the knee to the outside of the right shoulder, shifting your body weight and your gaze forward. Then step your right foot on the outside of the right hand. You can wiggle your right foot forward toward the top corner of your mat if that's comfortable for you. And you're welcome to stay here in this variation of lizard pose with the back knee off the mat. Or if you're comfortable, lower your knee down nice and slow. And untuck the toes. You might like to come all the way down onto your forearms or maybe a block if the mat feels a bit too far away yet. If you have a cat, reach for your cat. If you have a dog, it will probably get jealous. Just be mindful to keep your spine as long as you can so you're avoiding rounding through the back body. When you're ready, tuck your back toes and lift your knees. Shoulders back, root down nice and firmly. Press the mat away from you, step your right foot back and lift up the hips. Downward facing dog, deep breath. Other side. Root the right foot and both hands. Inhale, draw your left leg all the way up and back. Really stretch for the ceiling. Little extra splits work. And exhale the knee all the way forward to the outside of your left shoulder and step your foot outside of the left hand. You can go off the mat if that's comfortable for you. Just make sure that you have control, especially if you are wearing the socks already. You don't want to slip all the way out if you're not too sure where your deep lizard or splits are today. An option here to come down onto the forearms, right onto the mat or a yoga block or two. And again, you can bring your back knee all the way down to the floor and untuck the toes. So the top of the foot is on the mat. In this position here, this variation of lizard, the right side leg is very much like pigeon pose. You can come up to your hands again nice and slow. Steady yourself, really root down firmly through both hands. Use the core to make sure you're strong. Lift the knee and step back into plank, into down dog. Take a deep breath and let that one go. Now, if you're not wearing socks, this is where you'll need to put them on if you're joining us for the slider portion of the practice, or grabbing your paper plates if you're on carpet. So with a deep breath, lift the hips up toward the ceiling. On your next inhale, come into high plank pose, shoulders over wrists. We're going to stay in this position for a little while, so make sure that you have a nice setup. Bring the navel in toward your spine, the core is strong, and push the mat away from you. Now bring your right toes to the outside of your mat. Take a deep inhale and stretch your toes all the way toward the top corner of your mat, pushing your blocks out of the way if you need to. One more deep breath to explore your depth, pushing through the back toes and the front heel. Another deep breath to bring your right toes back, and exhale, root it down. On the inhale, bring your left toes out and slide all the way up toward the top corner of your mat. Again, one more deep breath to explore your depth without forcing your way down. Root through the hands, navel to spine. Stretch the heel away from the back toes. Bring your left toes back, again, all the way to plank. Take a little break, lift the hips up high. We're going to be moving just a little bit quicker here, but feel free to repeat the last exercise or just go at your own pace. Nice and strong and down dog first, and shifting forward into your plank. Bring your right foot out. Inhale, toes all the way forward. Come onto your heel if you can. Stretch through the back sides of the legs. Bring your right foot back, plank. Left foot out, all the way forward. Hold it here, and draw it back. Make sure that you have control through the entire range of motion. If you feel yourself starting to sag through the spine, just take a little break and come back when you can. We're going to do this once more on each side. Right leg forward one more time. moving with the breath as best you can. And last one, left leg, deep breath, stretch forward, exhale back. Come to downward dog, take a deep breath. Again, using our three-legged dog or split downward facing dog to transition, right leg up first, rooting the left leg, maybe bringing it into center line a little bit if you choose. Inhale, right toes back and all the way up, really lengthen that line and push the mat away from you. On the exhale, shift your gaze slowly, push to the back toes, knee to nose, that right knee forward, moving from the core. Check in with the shoulders that they're not collapsing and slowly bring your right knee down onto the mat between your hands. You can wiggle or shift your right foot forward toward the left hand and stretch those left toes back all the way, lowering the right hip onto the mat. If you can, hips as square as possible. And untuck the back toes. Start to walk your hands back as much as possible without compressing the spine. So looking for length here. Lift the chest. If you're unsure of the alignment of your back leg, just take a peek over your left shoulder, nice and slow. Top of the foot on the floor, toes reaching back. Take one more deep breath to lengthen up, rooting down that front leg, drawing the right hip back. And then exhale, fold your body forward over the bent leg knee. If you feel flexible here, you can come down onto your forearms and maybe bring your head to the mat or your hands. You can always use a block to bring the mat a little bit closer to you. And relax on that instead. You're all the way down in your pigeon. On your next inhale, lift your head and your chest and start to walk your hands back toward your hips, under your shoulders. Pressing down. Tuck the back toes, lift the knee, and step your right foot back, downward facing dog pose. Go slow, take a deep breath, let it go. Left side, so rooting down the hands in the right foot. Again, you have the option to wiggle or walk your right foot into center line, and maybe bending the right knee if you feel you need it. Draw the navel to spine, root down the right foot, inhale, left leg up and back. And just to note that the more you work your legs here through these transitions, the more you open through the hamstrings, the easier it is to get into your splits when you get to that. So on your next exhale breath, knee to nose, shift your weight forward and slowly lower into pigeon. You can wiggle or slide those back toes all the way to the back of the mat and top of the foot on the floor. Again, to check your alignment, walk your hands back a little bit, lift your chest, and gaze over your right shoulder in this case, top of the foot on the mat, knee down, top of the thigh on the mat, foot, knee, and hip in a straight line. Again, gently draw your left hip back. Point the back toes and squeeze the thigh. Get nice and rooted. Inhale, lengthen up, and exhale, fold your body forward. If you're taking the reclining variation of this one, is this reclining? Or is it, I don't know, folding forward, whatever you want to call it. For some, it might feel more relaxed and others more intense. So just try to connect to what is going on in your body today. Make any adjustments that you need to. And try to find a place where you can explore your depth in the pose without pushing yourself past any pain, but making sure that you can breathe deeply in and out through your nose. And just finding a place where you can hold this with stillness. Come up nice and slow. Bring your hands back until they're under the shoulders. Spread the fingers, root down, and tuck the back toes again onto the mat. Lifting up your knee, transition into downward facing dog once again. Lengthen the arms, the spine, the legs. Take a deep breath, let it go. Root down. Really press firmly through your hands and your feet. Lengthen the back of the neck, the crown of the head. Spread your shoulder blades and pull your shoulders up away from your ears. Push more through your heels in the last breath. I've just taken a quick break to take my socks off here because I don't really need them anymore. So you're welcome to do that yourself if you'd like. And when you're ready, come back to downward facing dog with a deep breath. On your next inhale, bring your right leg all the way back and up, three-legged dog. Really stretch your toes to the ceiling. On the exhale, shift your body weight forward, gaze forward, and step your foot between your hands. Come onto the fingertips. Inhale, lengthen the chest forward, lengthen the spine. On the exhale, bring your back knee down onto the mat. Take another deep breath and extend everything forward. Exhale, shift your hips and pelvis back, trying to square them as best as possible, the hip side is, and bringing your left hip directly over your knee. You can keep your toes tucked like I've got them here, or if you prefer, untuck the toes and root the top of the left foot. Without letting your left hip come forward in this position, try to lengthen your right heel away from your body. Just exploring your depth here, getting a deep stretch through the back of the right leg. On your inhale, lift the chest. Bring your right foot down to the mat, come up on your fingertips and shift both hips forward as evenly as you can. If you feel like you're twisting out to the side, draw your right hip back a little bit more. Take another deep breath. On the exhale, shift your body weight back, come into that half split position. Inhale again, come forward to your deep low lunge. Exhale and root down. Lift the chest. Take a deep breath again. Inhale, lift the hips up. Exhale, shift them back all the way. Start to lengthen your body forward over your right leg on this one, half split. Moving with the breath as best you can. Inhale, chest up. And exhale to find your depth. Two more. Inhale, lift the hips up. And exhale, shift the hips back. Maybe stretching your body over your right leg, forehead toward the toes. Inhale, chest up, lengthen your spine. Keep the hips square. And exhale to your deep low lunge. Inhale again, one more time. Lift the hips up and back. Exhale, hold it here. Come back into downward facing dog. We'll repeat the same sequence on the other side. Tuck your toes, push the mat away from you. Take a deep breath. Exhale, draw your shoulders away from your ears. Root down the feet and start to push more into your heels if you can. Again, using three-legged dog to transition or split downward dog. Root the right foot down, maybe bringing it a little bit more into the center line. Draw the navel into spine and inhale, stretch your left toes back and up. Just exploring your depth on that breath. Exhale, shift your body weight forward. Look between your hands, keep the hips high. And bring your left foot down between your hands at the top of the mat. Inhale, come onto your fingertips, lift your chest up, lengthen forward. And exhale, back knee down to the mat. Again, option to keep the toes tucked or untuck them if you did so on the first side. Inhale to extend the spine and chest forward. And exhale to shift your hips back. And keeping your hips as square as you can. Draw the left hip back even more actively here, and if you are turning out to the right side a little bit. Navel to spine, shoulders back away from the ears, gazing beyond your toes, maybe just the top of your mat if you're using one. Inhale, lengthen the spine, the chest, the head, everything forward. And exhale, start to shift your body weight forward, coming into your deep low lunge. Again, we're gonna stay here for a couple deep breaths. You can always use your blocks if you feel like you're collapsing. Keep the back leg strong. On your next inhale, lift up your chest. And exhale, back into the half split position. Find your depth. On your inhale, lift up your chest, come onto your fingertips, low lunge. Exhale, get nice and deep into the hips, still lengthening the spine. Inhale, lift the hips up, and exhale, shift back again into your half split, coming to your depth with the breath. Inhale, lengthen your spine, lift your chest, and exhale, come into the full expression of your deep low lunge. Remember, you can use blocks here if you'd like. Inhale to lift the hips up, and exhale, hips and pelvis back, extending your spine and chest, the crown of the head forward. Inhale, lengthen up. Lift the chest. And exhale. Find your depth. Last one. Inhale, lift the hips up. Exhale all the way back to the half split, lengthening forward. Empty the lungs, draw navel to spine. And inhale, lift up. Exhale, draw your left knee back to meet the right. And come into child's pose this time, relaxing your belly over your thighs. Forehead down to the mat or to the side. Give yourself a little stretch through the hands and wrists if you feel you need it. Take one more deep breath in child's pose. And then come back to downward facing dog. We're going to transition into our front split through three-legged dog. Really rooting down the left foot again. Inhale, right toes back and up. Lengthen all the way to ceiling. Explore your depth here. On the exhale, draw your knee to your nose. Shift your body weight all the way forward and step your foot as far up your mat this time as you can. Go slow. Come on to your fingertips. Lift the chest, take a deep breath, lengthen forward, and exhale. Start to open up into your split. So you can lift your foot up a little bit, draw more forward if you feel like you have control there. Push through the back toes, be mindful to keep the hips square. Slowly lower your back knee down onto the mat and untuck your toes if you're comfortable with that. If you feel like you're kind of stuck here and there's no way that you're bringing down the hips or the underside of the right hip to the mat, that is totally fine. You might even like to grab some yoga blocks here so that you can push into them and just don't force your body down onto the mat. If you are able to lower down all the way, breathe deeply into both hips. We'll try to hold it here for 2 more deep breaths. Remember, you can always come out of the pose earlier than what I'm cueing here if you feel you need to. Stay connected to your breath and let that guide your own practice today. Lift yourself up, pressing through the hands on the floor of the blocks. Slowly draw your right foot back. And come right back up into downward facing dog. Let's take one more deep breath here before we transition to three-legged dog. And rooting down both hands and the right foot. Inhale, left toes back and up. Stretch all the way to the ceiling. Exhale, knee to nose, round your spine. Shift your body weight forward, look forward, and step all the way to the top of the mat. Doesn't matter if it's not graceful. Take a deep breath, lift the hips, the spine, the chest, and on the exhale, push through the back toes, slide your left heel forward if that's comfortable. You can wiggle or walk it up. When you're able, bring the back knee down to the mat. Maybe untuck the toes. You can keep them on the mat if you feel better that way. Now you might find that it feels really different between your right and left sides. That's really normal. Try to spend the same amount of time practicing your splits on either side. So with the right leg forward and then with the left. You can do it the other way around as well, no big deal. I tend to start with the right forward in most cases. We'll take one more deep inhale, long, slow exhale here. Remember, you can use your blocks as much as you need to. When you're ready, lift the chest, push the mat away from you. Inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, draw the heel all the way back. And come back again one more time into child's pose. This time you can make yourself comfortable. If you've got a scarf or a sweater, something nice and cozy. Hey, sweetheart. So this will be the last pose that we do before we get into our final Savasana. Stay in child's pose as long as you like. Whenever you feel ready, you can slowly sit back up. Turn yourself around and lie down on your back. Come into Savasana. If you like, you can bring your arms out by your sides with the palms facing up toward the ceiling, if that's comfortable for you. Hands as far away from the body as you need to spread the shoulder blades out and relax through the upper back and shoulders. Or if you prefer, you can bend your arms and bring your palms to your belly or your hips. Maybe give the hips some extra love and attention here at the end, since we have been asking so much of them today. The thing I really love about home practice is that you get all of these sweet little visits from your cats or dogs or your kids. And if you're really lucky, a cat will sit on you in Savasana, bestowing you with their wisdom and grace. Just breathe deeply in and out through your nose. And let your whole body sink into the mat or the floor. Fill yourself with gratitude for exactly where you are today. And do your best not to attach to what you might perceive as shortcomings or issues or even challenges. And instead, just thank yourself for everything that you're able to do and everything that you're willing to try. Give yourself 2 to 5 minutes in your final Savasana so that you can really relax. Really absorb all the benefits of your hard work throughout your practice. And give yourself permission to let go of any tension that you can feel yourself still holding on to here. And when you feel ready to come back to a seated position, do so slowly and mindfully. And take as much time as you need in seated to seal your practice in, or to give yourself a little bit more compassion or gratitude. And just welcome yourself back. I hope you guys enjoyed your splits practice today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. I will be making another video of follow-up in not too long, I hope, which will be a little bit more of a progression of your splits practice, so advancing your splits. I hope you come back again soon, do it all again. Until then, namaste.